Welcome to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast, the show that offers you tips and strategies to help speakers build the business of their dreams. Now here's your host, 30-year industry veteran and business coach, Jane Atkinson.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. I'm your host, Jane Atkinson, and I am thrilled to have another alumni of the Wealthy Speaker School back with us today to talk about the resilience required to build a successful business. Welcome to the show, Kwesi Millington.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just have to say, I'm a big fan and I'm a student as well. So thank you. I'm appreciative for being on here.
We had you in the school for many, many years, and we have actually loved watching your trajectory. Let's talk about the beginning. What's your backstory? What happened in the early days for you?
No, absolutely. So my background is I used to be a police officer with the RCMP, and my short version of this story is quite simply I was involved in a well-known case, and at the time, I had to testify about what I did during a certain case. And as police officers, we sometimes have to testify in court, and sometimes there's a gap between when you go to a case and you deal with a call and then you testify about it. Unfortunately, I forgot some of the things that happened during that during that case. So I made some mistakes during my testimony, and unfortunately, those mistakes were called deliberate mistakes, even though they were accidental mistakes. And I always put this in layman's terms because the actual charge is called perjury. I was charged with perjury, which means deliberately lying in court. I will tell you, I've never lied a day in my career. But unfortunately, I was charged and I was convicted and I lost my policing career because of it.
Wow.
Now, you fast forward to 2018 and I have to figure out, okay, what's the next phase in my life? Now, as a police officer, I was one of those guys that I didn't like the adrenaline junkie calls. I didn't like the going to drug calls or homicides. I loved going into schools. I was that school resource officer, the guy who went in and loved dealing with kids. And so coming out of that, I thought, can I do something with youth, with young people? And a natural offshoot of as well was, can I do something with police officers? And mental health has been a big thing with both markets. And I thought maybe I can do something with them. I don't know what. And that's what led me to you. I realized through following you and reading your first book, which I still have here, Wealthy Speaker 2.0, that I can actually transition and start a new path in life. And so in around 2019, I decided, okay, this is going to be my next phase of life. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to talk to both young people and first responders about the power of resilience, mental health, and see if I can make this, my next phase in life.
Make a go of it. And I have absolutely loved watching you and your family grow and your business grow at the same time. Feel like we've had the best seat in the stadium to watch this career unfold for you. And I've seen some posts. What actually prompted us to get you on the show here was a post that you did about year one in the business was this many speeches. And then year two in the business, I think you were only into the first quarter when you posted, you had already doubled and then go on from there. So let's talk about the early days. When you were kind of scraping and clawing your way into the business, what were some of the first things that you did to start to get your name out there?
Yeah, well, I guess rewinding, the first few things that I did was I tried to get in front of people to speak. And that's always the hardest thing. But I think one thing that helped me was that I was willing to speak even if I wasn't getting paid. So I wanted to get out there and just see, okay, how can I get in front of my ideal market, whether they're paying me or not? And so it was just finding who's in this space. How can I get that out there? And speaking for free was huge for me. But also part of that was making sure that I got some way to record my speech
Oh, okay.
so that I could get footage, so I could get footage of me speaking, especially because I think I started at the worst time in business. I was at the end of 2019 going into 2020, and we all know what happened in 2020 when the
Yeah.
world shuts down. And I had a decision to make. Am I going to keep doing this, or am I going to take a break until we come back to being in person? And I thought,
Right.
and so I talked to people who were doing it, and I realized there's a virtual market.
Right.
So I just wanted to speak as much as I could, and also let people know through actual footage of me speaking that this is what I'm starting
Yeah.
to do.
Nice. And the saying is, if you want to speak, speak. I have clients who will say, okay, I haven't had a speech for 4 months, and yet they are not willing to go out and do a freebie just to get some momentum going. And that sometimes is what's required. If you want to speak, speak. Go out there and speak to anyone who will listen. And in your case, you were doing it very strategically. Your markets were youth and first responders, and so there was lots of freebies to be given in those markets. And that even though it wasn't technically the rubber chicken circuit, I don't know if you ever got a free chicken lunch,
I
but
got free lunches, no chicken, but lunch for
no
sure. Yeah.
chicken. Yeah, you actually got your business started in that way. So let's talk a little bit about how important it was to choose those two markets and also to pick the lane of resilience. What, I know at the beginning you're thinking, I can speak on anything.
Yeah.
How important was it to narrow your focus into one topic area?
Well, it was two things. I mean, you mentioned market and topic. I realized that market was huge because I was applying to all schools, and then I realized that the footage that I captured from my first speech was a high school audience.
Mm,
So even niching down within youth to say I spoke to high schools helped me in the beginning. Say, okay, I have to apply to high schools. And in
okay.
order to expand, I do speak to elementary now. I speak to full K to 12, but
Mhm.
I noticed that I didn't really get a lot of traction until I got footage of me speaking to elementary. So I send my footage of elementary to elementary students, schools, and my footage of high school to high schools. And
Okay.
that's how much you have to niche down. Like, even don't just think of the people in your market, think of age group, demographics,
Yeah.
and you have to have a topic that you speak about. Because if I just come in and say I'm a speaker, then they don't know what they need. But if I tell them I'm a resilience and mental health speaker, they can either say, yes, I need that, or no, I don't. So a friend of mine, he's a diversity speaker. They know that they go to him if they need a DEI talk. They know they
Mhm.
come to me if they want mental health and resilience as well.
And
So it's so important.
I like that you tacked on mental health to that, because that's such an important topic, especially with the kids up and coming. Helping the next generation. I'm hoping the next generation will be better than those who are out in the workforce today, because they had more mental health education on the way up. And I think it's becoming more and more common to hear speakers on it and to be talking about it at the dinner table than it was 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a stigma around it, and especially my other market with first responders not talking about it. But
Mhm.
yes, now it's much more accepted to just say, "Hey, listen, I'm okay not being okay."
So you start out in your career as an RCMP in Canada. That is our, I would say, most prestigious police position. And how much of a hit did your own mental health take losing that? And really it came down to, you didn't tell this part of the story, but it came down to a judge who, your lawyer said, "Oh, we're in for it. I saw how he looked at you, and I know this judge's background, and we in trouble," is basically what he told you before, when he saw the judge. So you were in
Yeah,
trouble.
just to clarify, he said he came up to me the first week of my trial and said, "I think he's going to find you guilty." He said that
Yeah.
to me. And I didn't want to believe that because I believe in, justice and, innocent until
Mhm.
proven guilty. But I also had a lawyer tell me straight up to my face, this is what we think is going to happen. So
Yeah.
I eventually, he was proven to be right, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes in life.
So you lose your career. Did you want to be a police officer since you were a little boy?
No, I didn't have that typical, I was a boy and I saw a police officer and I wanted to be an
Yeah.
officer. It was more so in my 20s. I realized that that was a career I wanted to get into,
Yeah.
but I did have aspirations. And in policing, RCMP, I always say it's the FBI of Canada whenever I speak to
Okay.
American audiences.
Okay.
And I wanted to advance to a certain rank. I wanted to be one of the highest ranking Black members of the RCMP. That was kind of one of the dreams I had. And it's
Okay.
one of the few cradle to grave jobs, right? There's not too many jobs where you can say, I'm probably going to have a career for 20 plus years.
Yes.
But that was one of them. So that was a hit for me. And so that's why I'm so grateful that I was able to find the speaking business because I was lost for quite a while figuring what am I going to do with my life? And
Yeah. And when you lose any job, I mean, I got fired from Orange Julius and it took a hit to my mental health. And that was like I was
no
16.
more free orange juice. Come on now.
I was 16 years old. This was not a big deal, but it still had impact. And I know that, you have to become resilient from that to be able to bounce back and go get the next job. And so here you are going out to actually sell yourself as a speaker. And then you have to figure out what topic. And I really liked watching you almost bloom like a beautiful flower in front of us. I'm pretty sure you were a little bit wounded when you arrived at the doorstep of the Wealthy Speaker School, and then we started to water you.
Yes, you did. You did. There's an old quote I
Realize
heard
you,
that said frustration is a skill that has to be built.
yeah,
And I had to build my frustration as far as moving to a new career. And
Mhm.
I had to kind of erase some of the things I thought in my head. I thought, well, I can just speak about anything to anyone.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to definitely get, the right brainwashing from your school to understand how to do this business. So thank you for that.
Let's call it fertilization. We fertilize
Fertilization, you have to water me.
beautiful flower, and then there you are. So okay, here we are. What you said 2019. So here we are about 5 years into it, 4 or 5 years into it.
Yeah, yeah,
Tell me
absolutely.
where you sit today. How happy are you with your schedule? How much are you speaking? As you look backwards, I want to kind of break it down and get some of the maybe mistakes that you made and some of the things that really worked. So let's talk about where you sit today in your business.
Well, I guess the word that I would have is grateful.
Um,
I'm just at a point where I'm speaking a lot and I'm speaking to the audiences I want to speak to, and I'm doing, both schools and some first responder work, mostly schools right now, but I'm getting more into the first responder area as well.
mhm.
And, for me, being able to say I have an impact in someone's life still in a new way now is huge. Like from students that send me cards to write me letters to DMs. I mentor students online as well. And it's just been a way that I can still inspire people to make good choices in their life. And I think a lot of police officers get into the career to help other people. And I found something that I can do that also helped other people, but also make a good income to be able to support my family doing it as well. So
Wonderful.
I'm happy about that.
Good, good. So you're out speaking a fair amount. And in the early days, I think you said something like 18 speeches in year one. Tell me a little bit about what something that you did, maybe it was a marketing thing, or maybe your speech got better, that kind of moved the needle for you.
Yeah, no, well, definitely the speech is always what it comes back to,
Mhm.
because in your business, if you can get referred, that's going to save you so much time and it's going to help to grow your business because just doing cold outreach as your only form of getting speaking engagements, it's going to be very tiring. And it is tiring in the beginning because that's what you have to do. But you definitely want to fertilize that referral process as well too. So I always ask for referrals, and I'm more likely to get them now than I was in my first year because the speech has improved. It's a lot better now than it was when I got started. And
how did you invest? How did you invest in your presentation? Was there, I know that here in the school, we have a pretty strong speech section. We have a lot of Kelly Swanson in there and a lot on, how to set up your speech. Was there, how much work and time and energy did you put into the actual presentation?
So I'll correct one word there. Did I put in? How much work do I put in? Because it's always a process. It's continuous. I'm making upgrades to a speech I'm doing tomorrow for a high school, even to this day. So it's continuous to do it. My background's a little bit different in that I have also gotten a certification as a speech coach. So I help people write their speeches as well. So I was able to do most of that on my own, but I do study Kelly Swanson, who's a master in your school. I do study a lot of other speakers. I've invested in Michael Port's program, the Hero Public Speaking program. I went to New York. I've hired coaches myself. I can't tell you how many countless thousands of dollars I've spent on speech coaching, as well as investing with you and the business side of it as well. So it's an ongoing process.
So never, ever. And I would think that the first time you stand up in front of students is a schooling in itself, because you might think, oh yeah, I'm going to come in here and blah, blah, blah. And students are they not the hardest audience ever?
100%. And people will say that, and sometimes people say things that you have to get out there and prove it for it to be true. But a student, if they don't like what you have to say, they will not pretend. They will not fake it. They will sit there and just stare at you. So you have to be engaging with them. And I'll be honest, going to an adult audience after a youth audience is actually easy. So they definitely test your material for you as well.
Yeah. So, So the first, so moving the needle, probably working on the presentation, working on the product has been one of the biggest things. What would you say has been the biggest, maybe financial mistake or marketing mistake or thing that flopped that you have done where you might warn other people away from?
That's a good one. I would say that I didn't need to invest in so many courses, because once you have the course that teaches you what you need to know, there's this shiny penny syndrome that we think if I get into that course and I get into that course, I'm going to pick up extra things. But I'll be honest with you, from the business side of things, when I took your course, that's all I needed. I invested in another course for you speaking, and that was really all I needed. But I invested in so many other courses that maybe added like nugget of information, but it wasn't worth the thousands of dollars I spent. So once you have what you need, go out there and do the work.
Stop looking. I often tell people, put on the blinders once you find who your guru or resource is going to be. And the reason is, when you take courses, every time you sign up for something, I think the mentality is, oh, this is going to solve my problem. And the problem is that you don't have enough business. Taking the course isn't going to solve that problem. Taking action in your business is what is actually going to solve the problem. Stop learning and start doing. And so that's, I see that so many times. And when I see people who have, I'll ask the question on the assessment, how have you invested in your speaking business in the last however many months? And if there's a long, long list of things, I know that I'm with somebody who is a avid course taker, chronic course taker. And what we need to do is just stop taking courses and start taking action. So I hope people who are the chronic course seekers will listen to that. And sure, 1 or 2 courses is required so that when you're taking action, you're coming from a place of knowledge and somebody who's tried it and done it and proven it. But that's all you need. That's all you need. Totally. Pick your guru and then follow through. Okay, so that's actually incredibly helpful.
And can I add one thing to that? And know exactly what you want from the course that you're taking. Don't just say, okay, I'm going to sign up for this course. Say, okay, there's something I'm missing, and I need to learn this one thing, or these few things. Am I going to get this from this course? I've tried it on my own. Let me go here to learn this thing. And have some specific focus.
That's good. If you're taking, something on presentation skills, maybe your stories need some crafting. Maybe your humor needs some crafting. Really decide what is it that you want from that. And yes, there'll be some tips as well on top of that. But I think having that focus going into it is really, really helpful. Okay, so if you were to start all over today, let's say today was day 1 of your business, what advice would you give young Kwesi, knowing what you know now, 5 years in?
I would say if I was starting over, on a technical side, get a CRM right away. So just some way to organize your contacts right away. Don't just send out emails or calls without a tracking system
on a spreadsheet. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So get a CRM quicker in the game. What one are you using now, Kwesi?
I use one called Nimble. And
okay.
I find it very easy to use. I can see, okay, how many people are opening an email, when they're opening it. I can follow up that way. And I find it very, very helpful to use.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'll reinforce that with a CRM is only as good as its user. So getting in there and using it every single day is the only way a CRM is going to work for you. And it doesn't.
I don't close my page.
What's that?
I don't close my page. My Nimble page is always open.
It's open all the time, and you're in there like assessing it and seeing, okay, who do I need to follow up with today? That is number 1. And so get in there and use it, learn it and use it. I'm pretty sure that I only use 10 or 15% of my CRM,
same.
But I'm in it every day. I'm in it every day. So that's okay. All right. Well, I want to say thank you. Is there anything else that you want to add to that? Get a CRM right away.
And put more time into reaching out than anything else. I think I spent too much time on social media and, what does my presence look like on this social media and this platform, when really all I needed to do was double or triple or quadruple my reach outs. And that's so simple, but we get lost in the weeds sometimes. So just reach out to speak.
That is really, really, really good advice. If you want more business, look at your numbers, double them, triple them. And so how many people would you touch every week? And by a touch, it could be a LinkedIn connection. It could be a phone call. It could be an email, whatever it might be. What's your goal each week right now?
So I actually don't have a specific number of people I want to reach, but I do have basically in my CRM, I want to make sure that I'm sending out minimum 300 to 400 reaches a week.
Really?
And that's just me because of where I am in my business right now.
Okay.
And I also have people that help me do these things.
Okay.
Also keep in mind that I'm a youth speaker, and I feel that in youth speaking, we have bigger numbers for reaching out than we do in the corporate market. So it's totally different.
Yeah, the youth market, I always talk about how much you sometimes can get run ragged a little bit in the so my goal for you, Kwesi, would be to see you start to balance that with the first responders and maybe get a 50-50 balance going so that you're not run as ragged because youth speakers can really, I mean, you could be doing 3 a day in 3 different cities 3 days in a row. It's really hard on a youth speaker.
I hear you as well. And one thing, the final thing I want to add there is I actually have an assistant, and that's something I wouldn't say that do that too early. Like I wouldn't say go back and do that first day, but I do have an assistant that helps me send out things, and I also speak in different provinces and countries, so it's not all just Ontario. That's what so that
Very
helps
good.
as well.
Kwesi, I have absolutely loved talking to you. If people want to connect with you somehow, I'm pretty sure they'll want to. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, where would you like them to hook up with you?
You can catch me anywhere. Kwesi Speaks is my handle on most social media, KWESI Speaks. And then my full name on LinkedIn is where I am a lot as well.
Last name Millington, Millington. Thank you so much for your time today. I know that there was some nugget in there that inspired someone to either go get their CRM or to work harder on their speech or to get their numbers up, whatever it might be. Thank you so much for taking the time today to be on the Wealthy Speaker Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
And with that, we're going to say, hey, let us know if these podcasts are helpful to you. Reach out to me, jane@speakerlauncher.com. I would love to hear from you. And with that, we will see you soon, Wealthy Speakers. Bye for now, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. If you need help building the speaking business of your dreams, head over to wealthyspeakerschool.com and take advantage of our 20-minute next step call. Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast.